I was just saying there, I'll start just now, Stephen, I just like to do a little monologue. There's been some deep, thoughtful conversation happening before I hit the animation. Hello and welcome in to this Monday's MBE Entertainment News. I'm Jonathan C. Walsh, I'm the host for the stream, and joining me to the left is Stephen John McLaughlin with a very fetching t-shirt on. Like a little design, Stephen, it's almost like Chitulu.
Yeah, John.
Squid Kraken.
It's Japanese.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I know exactly what it is, Steve. There's a very famous painting called the Tsunami, I think. And it's like waves crashing. I was going to buy it and hang it on the wall. Fucking
There's more on the back. I can't show you that.
That's a cool t-shirt. But Stephen's the co-host. And Stephen, we're going to be discussing Les Beatles once again. We're going to hit the intro. Emote, macro, whatever you want to call it, so it doesn't come up again when I change scenes, and I'm going to change scenes in a moment. Steve, we're going to be discussing the Beatles, 3 different conversations with regards to the Beatles. Obviously, we've got this, I want to call it Sam Mendes 4-part biopic, Bonanza, Beatles thing that's on its way, and obviously Paul Mescal, incredibly, what's the word I'm looking for here?
Well known.
Well, popular and well known, but there's another word. He is the it guy just now in Hollywood. He's the it guy. Chalamet will be the Sly Stallone to his Arnie. Or he will be the Arnie to Paul Mescal's Sly Stallone.
Yeah.
They'll be fucking raging at each other. Tom Holland's just like little Danny DeVito. Just piping up. What about me? What about me? He'll be hating that kind of thing. A Chalamet, he thinks he's the guy, and Mescal will be like, fuck off, bitch, I'm the guy. He's that thing, Stephen. And obviously he's been cast as Paul McCartney, as we like to say, being Beatles fans. That's an in-joke from a random, I want to say, Swedish interview from back in the day. It may even have been Shindig. I think it is Shindig.
I think it is, yeah.
They've done a performance, multiple songs, Kansas City, Hey Hey Hey, a couple other ones. I think George may have done Revolver Beethoven, but that's for another day.
Right. Yeah.
And obviously they take the piss and call each other. Well, John takes the piss, he doesn't call himself anything. He calls Paul McCartney, George Parasol and Ringo Stone. I digress, Stephen, he's been cast, and obviously this is the news that's come out. I've put on the thumbnail, full method. Is he going full method? Full method, question mark, I don't know exactly what I put. Because he's doing the sort of Austin Butler thing, Stephen. And I'm not talking about learning to play left-handed, that's a necessity if you're playing Paul, because Paul was a left-handed musician.
Exactly, yeah.
And if you want to do the role justice and make it as authentic as possible, then you have to learn the instrument left-handed. Now, it's incredibly difficult. I couldn't get my head around it personally. I play the guitar right-handed. Yeah. I've tried turning it over. Jimi Hendrix played a right-handed guitar upside down, left-handed, which is fucking mind-blowing. So I'm not doing down this process here, because that is incredibly impressive and it shows the dedication he has. But we'll get into the method stuff.
Did that was Thomas Brodie Sangster in Nowhere Boy, who played Paul, and he did exactly the same thing. He didn't just learn to play the guitar left-handed, he learned to play the guitar upside down.
Yeah,
just
that's what Paul did.
Paul McCartney. Yeah. Fantastic.
And that speaks volumes about Paul, Stephen, and how incredible a mind that he has in terms of musicality. That's another word I've used twice tonight now. Just the ability to turn the guitar upside down and play it. Because, I mean, it would have been a fucking nightmare back then. It's a much better world now for left-handed people. You can, but even now, it's limited compared to right-handed. But back then, it would have been a nightmare trying to source a left-handed guitar. Yeah. And in some strange way, it actually worked out well, because a lot of Jimi Hendrix's sort of stuff that he did, it was just by a strange quirk of playing a right-handed guitar, left-handed. He'd have the strings and whatnot, I don't know, there was something different about the way he was setting up. It made his sound unique to him. So it kind of worked out in a historical sense. But Stephen, I've questioned, is he going full Butler, i.e. Elvis, because of what he says in this article obviously reveals that he is going to be trying to learn the guitar left-handed. I presume the bass left-handed, because that's kind of important. He did play the guitar, but more associated with bass with his stint in the Beatles, certainly touring. But he goes on to say that he's been really going deep into the skin of Paul. And also, this is an interview with Rolling Stone. He says, it's long and winding, there's a lot of quotes here, and I'm going to read them. So, tough titty if you don't want to hear it. Revealed he has met McCartney a couple of times. I adore him. I think he changed the world. Fuck, yeah, well suited for playing him then. He will love that kind of arse-licking, that kind of sycophancy. He changed the world. Well, he did change the world, but it wasn't just Paul, for fuck's sake. It was John, George and Ringo as well. Let's give them their flowers. I understand they're getting their flowers, and the other actors will have the opportunity to bum them up as well, but fucking hell, give it a bye. He then detailed what a typical day currently looks like while preparing to transform into McCartney. Average day as we get up, we go to Bobbington, which is about an hour and a quarter drive. Who speaks like that? Listening to the Beatles in the car. That sounds like a fucking normal day for me as well, mate. That's nothing special. That's every day for the last fucking 18, 19 years now since I fully went down the rabbit hole with the Beatles. That's a normal day, Paul. Then we go in and we try to walk, talk, play, think like the Beatles. But then we get in the car, listen to the Beatles and go home. Stephen, I can't stress how lucky this fucking guy is. That, well, first of all, he's 6 foot, credible hair, good looking guy, all the women love him, Academy Award winner, rich. But he's getting paid to listen to the Beatles and essentially play dress up and get to play all these incredible instruments linked with Paul McCartney. I presume the Hofner bass, the Epiphone Casino, American one, all the instruments that he had, they'll all be there for authenticity. This guy is living the fucking dream, man. He's getting paid millions to play Paul McCartney, to listen to the Beatles and to get into his skin. I mean, what more do you want in life? He is winning the lottery and some. I just hope it pays off. I hope these movies are very good. Stephen, in my mind, I'm still not entirely sure I even want them. I think we've had enough Beatles biopics over the years, and there's only so many times you can go back to the well before the well is drier. As we like to say here, it's potentially slightly racist than an Arab Sani. It could be slightly racist, that, but it is a saying over here, and I'm going to say it because I didn't come up with it. So the well is in danger of becoming very, very dry at this point in terms of Beatles biopics. But what's your thoughts on this, Stephen?
I get that, you know, for every generation we need to make sure that, you know, the Beatles are there and the story is there as well. But that's the purpose of the Beatles Anthology. It was the story of the Beatles by the Beatles, you know. Biopics, John, I can take them or leave them. I kind of take them with a pinch of salt, whether that be the Elvis one or the Johnny Cash one, the Elton John one, the Queen one. They've all got different styles in terms of how they tell the story of these artists and stuff like that. And it really just depends how you want to sort of frame it in your own head. Now, with the likes of Rocket Man, I really enjoyed the sort of surrealism of that story. Yeah. You know, and the performances were fantastic as well. I wasn't really that hung up about some inaccuracies. You know, how Elton John got his name by looking at a picture of John Lennon, which was not true. That's not how he got it. It was Long John Baldry, I think. That's how he got the name John into the name Elton John. But it's things like that, you know, that you just got to let them fly over your head. If you're looking at it as a piece, you know, from, I don't want to sound pretentious here, but a piece of art, if you like, then you just appreciate, you know, what the directors try to do here and appreciate the performances. What you don't want to do is you don't want to go down this road of doing a caricature of that famous person that's appearing in your film, you know, and that's my sort of concern with this, because I've seen so many TV movies of the Beatles over the years. The Linda McCartney story was one that stands out to me, and they've all got this thing where they do, you know, it's no secret, you know, the 4 people in that band, all different characteristics, you know, John was the witty one, Paul was the romantic, lovey-dovey one, George was the quiet one, Ringo was the fun-loving one. You know, and that's how they've always been portrayed in these films. And I don't want to see that.
And it's not accurate, Stephen. That's
something
the thing.
like, yeah.
I'm sorry, I'll let you go. Continue.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say, you know, that's how I can appreciate films like Walk the Line, where they don't gloss over things. You know, you see the faults of Johnny Cash, you see his addictions, you see his the adultery side of his life as well, and everything else. You know, and his relationship he had with his father. I don't know if there's enough in the Paul McCartney story to do that, because
not
everything
with
about Paul McCartney, unless you read the book Fab, it's all quite glossy. It's all roses.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Well, Stephen, to be fair,
he is a walking PR machine. You know,
yeah.
I don't think I've ever, you know, out of the four of them, I don't think I on a personal level, I've really got to know Paul McCartney.
And that's why that biopic or the documentary that's coming out is going to be a big one for me, because I said that, Stephen, when we discussed that a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, a week ago, whenever it was, a couple of weeks ago, that I'm looking forward to it, because despite being a huge Beatles fan and loving the four individually for their own unique personalities, he is probably the one that I know least about on a personal level. I mean, I'm not sitting here pretending to be best buds with John Lennon. He fucking died 9 years before I was even born.
Yeah.
And same with George and Ringo. Fuck, Stephen, I wasn't even a massive Beatles fan when George passed. I remember you telling me, somebody told me, it may have been you, I think it was you, 2001.
No, I heard you saying.
Yeah.
Now, bear in mind, we were 13 or 14 at the time.
I'd have been 12, Stephen, come on, behave.
I heard that George Harrison guy died. You know, and I didn't say it at the time because I was like, okay.
At that time, I was probably listening to Foo
Basement
Fighters,
Jack.
Basement Jacks, Fatboy Slim.
Yeah.
Oh, that was all the shit. I was into Linkin Park. That was more my bag
Chemical
at that time.
Brothers. Yeah.
Chemical Brothers, Steve. I mean, I grew up in a household that was all about the dance music. So
Nothing wrong with that.
obviously Oasis and bands like that, and the Verve. I had a strange thing for Jarvis Cocker and Pulp. Just fascinated by that guy. And his on-stage persona. I remember watching him in the late 90s as a little guy, just mesmerised by this guy's energy. Yeah. So I was late. I was a late bloomer when it came to the Beatles. So I can't sit here and pretend to know them all on a personal level, because they're fucking strangers. I'm just a massive fan of the four guys and what they brought to the world. But Paul is a bit more of a quiet one, which is why I always laugh when George got termed the quiet Beatle, because of course if you know anything about George and you come away from the sort of polished caricature persona that was put out there during the height of Beatlemania, you realise very quickly that George was a bit of a boy. Yeah. Quite the boy indeed.
Yeah.
Nothing quiet about George. So this is where I want them to go with these biopics. I want to see what's and all, and I'm worried about where this particular one goes when Paul is very much alive and on this PR trail, permanently rewriting history, trying to airbrush certain elements out and put himself in place of maybe the likes of Lennon or somebody else in terms of what the output or input was in a song. I'm worried about just how much influence he has and whether he's going to allow this to be whitewashed, but I don't want to see that. I want to see and how much is there to actually dig into Paul in the early days.
Yeah, John, I don't
just really retreading the same story.
I don't want to see anything that's going to be, what would the word be? You know, no, to disgust the audience.
No, you want authenticity, Stephen.
Yeah.
You don't want it being a glazed job.
It's no stranger. You know, it's not a big secret. You know that he was caught in bed. You know, that's how the Jane Asher relationship ended. You know, and a lot of these Paul McCartney fans out there do not want to talk about that. They do not talk about it. No. You know, they're quite happy to talk about Lennon's
with Yoko.
sexual appetite, like George has some wrinkles for that matter. When it comes to Paul, no, we don't talk about
Paul
that.
didn't swear.
Yeah, see it all the time.
Paul did swear. Paul was a Scouser. There's not a Scouser in the history of Scousland, Liverpool, that is not sworn. They all swear. It's like the East End of Glasgow up here, or Glasgow in general, working class places, people swear. Don't kid yourself, he's literally captured on audio saying, we're body stars, you know, fuckface. So he swore behaviour, and he literally, we've got Liam Gallagher telling you he swore. It's a drink, you fucking... What's it he says to him again? He's like a margarita. I don't know, I've not long yet. He's like, it's a drink, you fucking idiot, or something like that.
Yeah, I thought he was talking about pizza.
He thought he was talking about the pizza. So, I'm conflicted, Stephen. Mescal is a great actor. I would be sitting here lying, Stephen, if I said I've watched the guy's entire filmography, because I haven't. He's very new. I speak about late blooming. He's a late bloomer as an actor. I refer to him as Ian Wright of acting. Ian Wright being a football player who came in very late in his career, started professionally, I think, at the age of 23, 24, which is way later than most people. And obviously he had to fit a lot more in a truncated career. And I feel that's the same as Paul. Paul was 26 when he broke through.
Yeah. Mid-20s, John, 2019. He broke into the scene, and just before COVID.
Yeah.
John, I'm like you. I'm very much aware of the man, just because of obviously films like, After Sun and
all the Strangers.
We obviously reacted to Gladiator 2, John, the trailer, and we knew as soon as he was in the trailer, we knew who he was. So he has got a familiar face, and he's from Ireland by all accounts, isn't he?
Yes.
So I think he's the type of actor this will suit. This kind of role suit. I don't. My concern is obviously these actors doing caricatures, but when you look at who they've cast, then perhaps that it's just.
I mean, they've done Ringo, don't they?
The little sort of characteristics, it's subtle things of Paul. The eyes sort of going up to the top, and he's kind of going like that. It's little movements like that. I don't want to see the. Yeah, John and I,
They've done Ringo, don't they?
So many.
No harm to Barry Keoghan, but he's.
And they're awful.
I'm sorry, I'm just taking pot shots at Barry Keoghan. I'm just bitter because he pulled Sabrina Carpenter. Fuck me. It's going to be intriguing, Stephen.
I'm glad they've got him, John. I'm glad they've got him for Ringo. No harm to Ringo. I love Ringo. And I can listen to his drumming all day on those separate tracks. I could. But when it comes to 4 separate films, I don't think there's going to be a mad rush. I think there will be, because who's playing him now? They had to make sure they had a good, top quality actor to come in and do Ringo.
The funny thing is, Stephen, Ringo's probably the best story out of the 4 in terms of start to finish. It depends on how they're doing this. If it's just going to focus firmly on the Beatles side, or if it's going to continue out the other side, because obviously Ringo was walking out, he was getting punched with Paul. His life in his early years was really interesting, battling severe illness, and he was off with other bands. He was a little bit more mature and gruffer than, certainly Paul and George anyway. Obviously he's back with alcoholism in the later years, getting into the 70s, 80s, hanging around with Keith Moon and John on The Lost Weekend. I think he did anyway.
I don't know.
So he's got a really interesting life, Ringo. So if anything, I think he's probably got the most interesting life out of the 4. But in terms of the journey into the Beatles, also, he's the clear lesser of the 4. And that's not me disparaging him. I mean, he's got a #1 in the US. Still better than 90% of the shit-kicking bellends that are out there just now. But in that band, he was the lesser.
Yeah, but in terms of technical aspects to these 4 films, you had this good idea for the film, was it 1917? Where you had perspectives from all these other actors, that came in at the very end, to tell their story, and it all meets up into that point in that film. I hope this is what they do with this. From a technical aspect, it's possible, because they're all being filmed at the same time, and they're all being released at the same time. They're all in the 1 year, which is quite a good thing.
Stephen, I'd have preferred it to be a TV show. I'd say a high calibre TV show from the likes of HBO. I think this would have been tailor-made, 4 seasons, and you can do that. You can kind of jump in and out of each Beatle and prominent parts of their time, or in the band or whatever, or personal life, and then you could really tell a rich, really long, slow burn kind of story, and it would have been dynamite. And you look, but in an era now where these kind of actors can easily jump over to TV, there's no stigma with a sort of A-list, big blockbuster actor belittling themselves stepping down into TV. You've got high calibre actors, Ewan McGregor's, and I can't think off the top of my head, but the brilliant actors are doing TV now who wouldn't even have looked at it 15, 20 years ago. So we could have done it. But I want to make movies. I'm not entirely sure there's enough financial gain to be had out of these movies. So I don't know how that's going to play out. That's not the be-all and end-all. But if you're casting Barry Keoghan and Paul Mescal, I don't know about the other two, then they're going to command big wages. Sort of salaries.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you're going to have to get paid, so you're going to have to make money out of the movie at the end of it. So I don't know if the Beatles brand will see it through. Just intrigue. It's going to be super important how they release these movies in the calendar year. If they're all coming out separately across the 1 year, getting the right film out first is going to be crucial. Because word of mouth, finding out whether it's something that's worth sticking to the end, will really impact the other movies. So it's really intriguing, Stephen, releasing 4 separate movies about 4 people in the same band. I've not heard of anything like that before. Obviously, it's a really interesting idea, and Sam's got the studio on board, so there must be something there, and he's attracted these actors.
He's an Englishman as well, John, so he's fully aware of... I mean, you don't have to be English to understand the full story of the Beatles. I don't mean that, but he'll understand the sort of upbringings from that period, the class systems and all that kind of thing, the little things that matter, you know, to make this as authentic as possible. Obviously, coming off the back of wartime, you know, these 4 guys were born into.
Stuffy
he will know this very well. It's interesting that obviously the first one it's actually been titled is George. The others are still untitled at the moment, but I would imagine they're just going to call him Paul, John. So in terms of Mendes, I think they've got the right guy. The other thing I do like, you know, about the sort of production side of things is they're sticking with the one director. They're not doing what Kathleen Kennedy did with that prequel trilogy. You know, they've got a plan in place. The story's there anyway, so that's the easy part. But it's the fact that they're sticking with one director who's also on as producing as well. You know, and it'll sort itself out. It's really just performances and the way the stories are told that's my concern, John, more than anything.
Well, Stephen, you're reading Paul here, Paul Mescal. I mean, he's going deep into it. So he's wanted to play the instrument left-handed. He's listening to the music. He's really studying Paul as a human being and getting all the little mannerisms and whatnot down. Like you said, it's crucial that they don't do basically a caricature.
Yeah, an impression.
You've got to have a degree of sort of yourself coming in. Play Paul, but be yourself playing Paul, which is oxymoronic. It doesn't sound right, but it fucking is right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're bringing in random gimps from
As
YouTube.
Noel Gallagher said, perfections have to be imperfect.
Exactly. And Stephen, to be fair, I'm talking nonsense because look at Rami Malek. He basically done a caricature of Freddie, and he won an Academy Award for it. Can we say the same for Val Kilmer? Did he win an Academy Award for the Doors one?
Freddie was very much a performer in that sense. You know, what he was on stage, he wasn't off stage to an extent. And probably the same as Jim Morrison as well, just highlighting that. You know, they were the frontmen, you know, but this is slightly different because it's 4 entities, equals, if you like, 4-headed monster, as Mick Jagger once called them. So that's the other thing Mendes has to get right. He has to get the balance right. You know, it shouldn't be painting certain members in a darker light. I know there's a lot of darkness in, obviously, Lennon's life. And I want to see that, actually, you know, because... That's one of the things that drew me to John Lennon was the openness of the guy. You know, he never really hid anything, you know, it was all out in front. All warts and all. Didn't matter if it was good or bad publicity for him. You know, he wasn't shy in that sense. I know he says he was a shy guy, but I'm not sure about that, to be honest with you.
Stephen, I mean, that's something I want to see with the two, the Lennon and the McCartney ones. Obviously, they both lost their mothers, didn't they? I think Paul may have lost his mother. Did he lose his mother before John? I think.
I think it might be.
Yeah,
I'm not really sure.
Because that was something, a common sort of thing they had. That loss of a parental figure, mother figure, early in their life. And they both kind of dealt with grief. Strangely, Paul didn't really grieve much from what I read in the book. He just went away, and very matter of fact, he didn't really like death and didn't handle it very well. And we see that in 1980.
There's a line in the film. There's a line in the song "Here Today" where he does say, "What about the night we cried?" So there is a moment in time where they both were talking about their mothers, and obviously emotional, but. Yeah, it'll be interesting, John. I mean, they've got so much in common in terms of obviously their love for music and the loss of a parent. And apart from that, different upbringings in terms of households. That's the other thing that they have to really nail as well. Paul, admittedly, came from a stable home. Regardless of obviously losing his mother, his father was there for him, the whole time. He had a brother as well, so he wasn't an only child. I know John had half sisters, later on, but his whole upbringing was a totally different thing. I'd kind of laugh when people go, "Yeah, he had the big house, he was in the posh area,
but he was living or middle class."
Yeah, he was living with his aunt. He wasn't living with his mum and dad. I'm pretty sure he would have traded all that in to have a stable home life.
House isn't that impressive either. It's a fucking semi-detached house. It's like a 3-bedroom semi-detached house.
But certainly now it looks pretty ordinary, doesn't it? It looks pretty.
They're everywhere. Those houses are everywhere. Yeah. There's nothing that's not a middle-class house. Behave maybe back then it was, but not now. Behave yourself. And he, like you said, living with his aunt. Fuck do you want him to do? The guy was essentially left. He was essentially orphaned. His mother buggered off, his father buggered off, his mother came back, tragically killed by an off-duty police officer, his father. Unbelievable knob end. So he was left on his own with his aunt. And you're saying, but he's staying in a big house. Shut up, cretins. But anyway, Stephen, I'm looking forward to it, man, to see what it's going to be like. I'm not sure, and even now I actually want to see the films, but we'll see. I'm sure when the time comes, I'll be intrigued because I'm a Beatles fan ultimately. And they have cast really good actors to play the individual sort of band members, so it'll be intrigued to see how they make it all work, how this concept of 4 movies telling the one story is going to play out. On a technical level, I'm intrigued, but I'm worried about whitewashing when it comes to Paul McCartney. But Stephen, speaking about Paul McCartney, we're going to come back to this. This is the next topic. I've not got any topic bars. It's not working. Fucking Stream Deck. And it's Paul doing some glazing for a change of John. Normally he's trying to remove John's sort of input into songs and say that he came up with it. Now he's kind of praising him. And look, to be fair, Stephen, this is a song that I can barely listen to now after watching the Anthology. Even though I learnt it and I forgot it again. It's really not that difficult a song. I think it's like 5-6 triplet chords and that's it. It's just the strumming that's really impressive. And look, for all we used to poke fun at John and his timing, he's a fucking rhythm guitarist and he had the worst timing in the history of any musician I've ever seen. His ability to play these really complex sort of rhythmic sections, unbelievable. Even you think of this boy as well.
She's a woman.
She's a woman. Yeah, I mean, he loved that. He loved those sort of, I don't even know what the fuck those chords are. Those kind of like big, I don't even know what they are. I'm not clued up in theory. I have to get better at music theory. But yeah, he did that and he can't do that as well. Those big sort of stretchy chords. Yeah. Not stretchy for John because he was using a 3/4 length scale fucking Rickenbacker guitar. So very easy for him. He did continue into casinos, to be fair. But I digress, Stephen. Yeah. He's out talking, Paul, about John's guitar part.
He's out and about.
Yes, he's out and about. On Les Beatles, All My Loving, and how it was a last-minute idea. I think that just, again, we were talking about Paul, and obviously his brilliance at playing instruments upside down and just taking up the bass guitar, not even touched it really, and they needed a bassist, so he decided, I'll do it. Then he goes on to become one of the greatest bassists in the history of music.
Yeah.
John here as well, I mean, it just shows you the brilliance. John's been criticised numerous times. I see this shot coming up on YouTube from time to time where he's asked about George as a guitarist and he says, yeah, he was all right. And then he goes on to speak about himself and people are like, yeah, it's all about John. He just loves talking about himself. But he's right in what he says. Give me anything. You can give me a fucking trumpet and I'll make it work.
Yeah.
You see this here in terms of last minute idea and it powers the whole song. That is the living, breathing soul of All My Lovin', that rhythm guitar part. And it's good to see Paul coming out and giving him his flowers.
Yeah, he did the same. He did the same with another track. What's the one? The down, 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 down. Blank on the name.
Down, 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 and I love her.
And I love her.
I said I love her as well. Doubted myself.
I think it might have perhaps been in the Scorsese documentary on Harrison. I think that's where Paul told the story of that.
Yeah.
He came up with the little riff as well. That just made the song. And it's similar to the All My Lovin', but I'm like you, John. It is a great song. It's a great track, and it's got Paul McCartney all over it in terms of lyrics and obviously the singing. But yeah, I mean, some of the standout moments are the guitar work as well. But it's one of those ones. When I first watched the Anthology, I think it was played on an episode 3 times.
Yeah.
And there was a live performance. I think there might have been some outtake ones as well. And I just, by the time I was done with that episode, I was like, I want to hear that song for a while, you know. So, but in terms of listening to it, you know, whether it be on the one album or no, was it on the one album? I don't think it was. It was on Past Masters. I can't remember. It was on a compilation. It might have been one of the red or the blue album or something. I can't remember. But it's the one I'll skip by because of that. You know, it's not because I hate it or anything. I've just overheard it.
Yeah.
It's like yesterday. I've heard it too often, you know.
You're having pot shots at Paul tonight. I'm trying to think of a John song that I've overheard. I can't think of any.
Yeah, I mean, God, All You Need Is Love, you know. It's just a song I don't listen to that often. I've heard it too often. I just kind of, when I'm on the Magical Mystery Tour, I kind of just, next one. Baby You're a Rich Man, yes,
I
that'll
fucking
do.
love Baby You're a Rich Man. I love that song. Everything about that. Just interesting melody.
All My Lovin' was the song that was playing in the Roosevelt Hospital. It was a Muzak version of it when John was pronounced dead.
Oh, right. Oh, shit. I'm laughing. God, yeah.
So,
just when you said Muzak, my mind went to John having pot shots at Paul. When, the sound you make is Muzak to my ears. So I thought that was a little thing. Well, that's kind of... Yeah, Stephen, there's a whole lot of stuff like that surrounding sort of John when he passed away. I always look at Paul when he get interviewed coming out the sort of recording studio and he said it's a drag. I think he said, no, is it a drag? He said something like that. I think he did say it's a drag, but he said something else and I was listening to, I think it was maybe P.S. I Love You. And there was some line in it and I'm like, that fucking lines up with what he said. I wouldn't put it past Paul being that deep that he's actually been listening to that and he's referenced it because it kind of fit with the mood and kind of saying goodbye.
The wrong time though, wasn't it? I think that was more if it was personal, then it probably should have been kept personal because it didn't come over well at the time, you know. And
but Stephen, again,
I don't really, John, you know, I'm not one of these ones that tries to find something on one of the guys, you know, like they do with John. You know, if Paul said that and it was wrong at the time, I felt just the way it came out more than anything. But that guy was in shock.
Yeah, you could see it in his face.
It looked like he'd been crying. I don't hold that against him, that quote. It's been held against him for the past 45 years, you know. Certainly, watching that, you'd understand that he's not functioning. He's just not functioning, you know.
Wasn't P.S. I Love You, by the way. It was another one. I need to go back and listen to it. I'm not going to get it just now. But no, Stephen, he was out, obviously, and he's full of praise. He also says it's a damn good piece of work, but I play a pretty mean guitar. But this is fucking Lennon. Interesting, Lennon sniffing his own farts. I want to see what Paul was saying. The thing that strikes me about the All My Loving recording is John's guitar part. He's playing the chords as triplets, which was something George enjoyed as well. He liked a good triplet, and sort of in that realm. I mean, I always play Devil in Our Heart, and he loves that little window. And he done it with Please Please Me, and there's another one he done it with. He loved the little triplets. So that's something that was part of the sort of Beatles DNA in the early days. And I'm always fascinated. I could go down a fucking rabbit hole with this shit as to how they came across this in the 60s and the 50s coming up, when you didn't have the internet, you didn't have access to this incredible resource of music, chords and theory. Just how they get the knowledge of these intricate little triplets and like chord shapes and shit like that. It's just, I mean, George was playing the most fucking ridiculous chords back then. Ridiculous. Yeah. And how he got this knowledge, I fucking have no idea. These were young guys. These guys were like 23 and 24 and 22 and 20. And ridiculous. They had fucking nothing else to do with their times, clearly. No internet, just play the guitar. That's how they get good.
Well, I mean, it's the passion, you know, and just the volume and the amount of input and learning and practice that these guys put in was phenomenal, John. And it pays off in life, you know, if you're good at it. Certainly with the writing as well. George obviously a bit of more of a late bloomer when it came to the writing, but he soon, you know, was up to that speed, you know, by the end of the Beatles. You know, and when you look at songs like Here Comes the Sun, I think it's the most played Beatles track on Spotify, which is incredible. It's a fantastic song, you know, but when you think of the back catalogue of the Beatles, you wouldn't necessarily think that would be even in the top three, but it's the number one most played. Something speaks for itself as well, you know, but yeah, I mean, this is the thing I love about the Beatles. I love just that input from all of them. It's great to see Paul acknowledging the input from John here. It is kind of throwing a bone a little, you know, that John doesn't need, you know, that kind of verification, if you like, from anyone, you know. We know, you know, and it's the same with Paul. I don't get the whole, I wrote this bit, I did this, but he doesn't have to do that. We know what you did, mate. You know, you're probably the most talented multi-musicianist out over the past maybe 200 years or whatever. I don't know, could be longer, but just, I don't get the whole, all artists do this to an extent though. They all kind of nitpick and say, I wrote this bit, I wrote that bit. John did it as well in the 70s, you know, in certain interviews where he mentioned the bits that he did as well, and it kind of bugs me when they do that.
Stephen, everybody's aware that it was a very fluid process. The writing of the songs, they were nitpicking off each other, and not nitpicking, but they were picking each other's brains. And the way that you've seen it, and to an extent with the Get Back sessions, even though they were more fractured at that point, you'd have seen it even more in the earlier days, mid-60s, early 60s, where they're bouncing off each other and brainstorming these guitar parts and whatnot, and just the melodies and putting the song together. Yeah. It was very fluid, and they all had their part to play. That's why I loved seeing George coming in and helping Ringo with Octopus's Garden.
Yeah, that was great. I was going to say the Get Back stuff was fascinating for that, because George came in with, I think he was talking about something, wasn't he? Tracks Me Like a Cauliflower or whatever it was. But there's a moment in it when they're doing the All Things Must Pass, and I think the lyrics he originally wrote was, a wind can blow those minds away. And John, I don't know if he misread it or not, he thought the word wind said mind, but it worked better. Yeah. It's little things like that that just change the sort of way you look at a song, you know. A mind can blow those clouds away, you know. I think it sounds better. It was a happy accident perhaps, but it just, that's what happens when you get these four guys in a room.
And it's what happened on this song as well, Stephen, because it does, as Paul says, it gives the whole song momentum. It transforms the whole feel of the song. That rhythm constantly piercing through, and like you said, it's almost like a car, the sound of a car travelling along the motorway. And what he says, obviously, it illustrates how quickly things were moving, because that song really did help power them, along with other ones over in America when they were touring. That was one of the sort of mainstays in the first tour.
was that the first song they did on Ed Sullivan? I can't remember.
I know they did This Boy.
Yeah.
I don't know, Stephen. I'd have to check it. Try to listen.
I'm not really sure.
You know what? I'll bring that up just now. I'll go to Jill's screen. I'll try and find it because my time's horrendous. Beatles.
Also, I sent you a photograph across as well. It took place just as we were talking about, obviously, Paul.
All My Loving, Stephen. Yeah. Opening song.
Yeah.
Till There Was You. She Loves You. I saw her standing there. I want to hold your hand. When did they do This Boy then? That must have been the following year.
Well, they were on Sullivan a few times, weren't they? So yeah. But no, I mean, even that, that's the first song that, obviously in America they would have heard the songs with the American albums, but this is the first time they would have saw them live.
Oh, they did do This Boy. It was She Loves You, This Boy, All My Loving. I saw her standing there from Me to You, I Want to Hold Your Hand. That was the first show.
So, I mean, at that point, you're thinking 1964, the Beatles have already maybe got 2 or 3 albums in their back catalogue at this point.
Yeah.
So, picking that song, All My Loving, is one of the 4 or 5 songs that they did that night. Shows how high in regard they valued that song, and it's part of their repertoire at that time as well. And it is a great song, John. It is. There's no doubt about it. I have overheard it, but you can't take anything away from the quality of the song, the structure of the song, the pacing of the song, and the words as well. The lyrics are fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, I'm just reading this here, obviously, what you sent over. Obviously, I'm breaking down why. What happened, we heard the news that morning, the strange one off all of us. 3 Beatles.
This is the face I'm talking about. Yeah. Look at that. Linda McCartney took this photo, John.
Yeah, it's a great photo.
The day after John died.
You can see in his face, Stephen, that he's still in a state of shock. You can see, I mean, it's black and white, but you can see that he's got it's almost like a ghostly white. He's in a state of shock. You can see. Look at his eyes.
Yep.
Has to be expected. It's a human response. Certainly if you lose anyone close to you, but a guy, it's almost like a brother who was so important when obviously Paul and John's life as well, and catapulting them to this stardom and shaped his entire life to what it is now. I'm not saying he wouldn't have made something of himself on his own, because he's an incredibly talented guy. But without the other 3, and certainly John, early doors, getting into the entire Beatles sort of catalogue, those 2 guys were just forces of nature. So when you lose someone like that in your life, regardless of where the relationship was, and by all accounts they did make up, also it's going to impact you. But he says also it's a drag. It's a drag, matter of fact. Stephen, he's always used that kind of language though, Paul. So when I first seen that, I never thought anything of that. I thought that was just a guy that was in shock. He'd been in his own mind in a studio all day, trying to get away from it. Then he's getting cameras and microphones thrust in his face.
I think for someone that's so articulated in writing, in terms of poetry and lyrics and songwriting and how to present, that art, I think when it comes to personal things, Paul is a little bit more on edge. I think he's more conscious of what he's got to say, and I think he's always thinking before he opens his mouth. Total opposite of John, but I think when I don't want to mention the guy's name or took Lennon's life. I don't believe in giving the guy a minute of my time, but Paul and his way of hating on this guy, called him the jerk of all jerks. Now that's putting him mildly, calling him that. But this is what I'm saying. I don't think Paul's very good at that. I don't think he's very good at articulating his true feelings publicly.
Yeah.
And he has admitted, at times that he said that, that he's just not that type of person. He puts a brave face on things at times. He actually did a song called My Brave Face, didn't he? But I mean, I don't hold anything against him for that, and it's funny because there was a period in the 1970s where he didn't want to talk about the Beatles. He didn't want to talk about the business stuff. Perhaps maybe he just couldn't talk about it. But, over the last 30 odd years since the Anthology, he's embraced it more, and obviously his relations with George got better. Obviously he's always had that relationship with Ringo, and he's openly spoke about Yoko Ono, as well, on different things as well, that it's not as bad as some people make out it is. you know, and it's just good to see that he's embracing. And again, in this article, he's doing it again, you know, in terms of that song, because I've always regarded it as a Paul song. You know, it's very much a Paul McCartney song, but that's nothing to take away from the musicianship of the song as well, how it's crafted, and that's kind of just the sort of cherry on top, that guitar piece from John. You know, and that's what I loved about the Beatles. As much as
that's what you think
this was my Lennon track. What was it? The Strawberry Fields Forever, the Mellotron. That's Paul. That front bit on the intro. You know, it's just things like that. It's little things that they just add to each other's songs.
Piano at the start of Obody Obada.
Yeah,
there's so many moments where they both, and the four Beatles, to be fair, add something. Just sprinkle a little bit of magic. George with his little noodles at times. Is that the right word? Doodles, noodles. I don't know, guitar, doodling.
Noodles, yeah.
They're going nowhere. But in the context of the song, I mean, you could omit them and it wouldn't change the song, but when you add them in, it just adds depth and something in there, sonically.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant. Stephen, I brought Misery up because that was the song I was thinking of from Please Please Me.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of guy who never used to cry. The world was treating me bad, Misery. I'll remember, what is it? I've lost her now for sure. I won't see her no more. It's going to be a drag, Misery. That's what I was thinking about. I mind listening to that. I'm like, you know what? Wouldn't surprise me if he's went back down memory lane, listening to all the Beatles stuff, John stuff, and he's listening to that, and that's what it's maybe stuck in his head, drag, because it's going to be a drag, Misery, and the title of the song's fucking Misery. He's singing about losing someone that's important to him.
That would make sense. I think you're right. I think that makes sense.
Fact, it's John singing it as well.
Say, you know, in that sort of interview with the cameras and the microphones in his face, I've just been listening to stuff today I wasn't recording. So that's right, it could have been that he was listening to some of the old stuff. There's an episode, John, of Desert Island Discs, that just reminded me, you've probably seen it, where he picks certain songs, and he picked Beautiful Boy from the Double Fantasy.
What video?
The cameras are on, and you can see he's choking up. He has to turn away from the camera.
Yeah.
You know, at one point, so, you know, the love was there.
Oh,
Definitely was. It still is.
Stephen, one place the love wasn't. Moving on to the final topic.
Yeah.
Ray Davies of the Kinks.
Everybody loves Ray.
Everybody loves Ray, yeah. I'm starting to worry about Ray. To quote that Hosier or whatever the fuck, wasn't Hosier. Fucking, I can't remember the name of that band. About 16 years ago. 15 years ago.
The Hosiers.
The Hosiers, yeah. Hosier. Yeah, it was the Hosiers, yeah. Who the fuck's Hosier then? Is that not a big Irish guy? It's a big Irish guy that brought an album out, and then he brought out that fucking don't know what the hell it's called. He brought a song out about a year ago. Quite liked it, to be fair. He's actually pretty good, Hosier. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. It was a song they done. I'm starting to worry about Ray. I'm not worried about Ray, because Ray's always been like this. He's always been a contrarian. He's always had a bit of a jealous bone, for lack of a better term, for the Beatles. Clearly, every band in that era from the British Isles, whether they admit it or not, wished they were the Beatles. They were the guys that opened up all the doors for everybody that came after them. They are the ones that everyone thinks of, and the Rolling Stones to an extent as well, from the early through to late 60s into 70s with the Stones, obviously. Yeah. I know we've got Zeppelin, we've got Pink Floyd and all the other bands that came in the late 60s going into the 70s and onwards. Clearly the Kinks and Ray Davies, though, seen themselves as being the sort of Blur to Oasis. Doesn't stand up, by the way, in this context, because the Beatles are fucking better than... They're like Blur, Oasis, Radiohead, R.E.M. all in one. Yeah. In terms of the way they were dabbling with every different genre. But he did, Stephen, he was asked, I think it was back in 66, 65, 66.
Well, I remember this. I remember reading about this, yeah.
He was asked to...
Not at the time, I wasn't born. I remember reading this years ago.
He was asked to listen and review, track by track, Revolver. Obviously, widely regarded, that and Rubber Soul as the sort of high point in the Beatles' sort of discography. Some would argue, if they're a Macca fan, that Sgt. Pepper's is arguably the best. And see, to be fair, I wouldn't argue with that. I'd actually just take Rubber Soul through to Peppers. Or Pepper, because it's not Peppers, plural, for fuck's sake, John. Euro Pepper is the sort of era. That was the best, because obviously the early stuff was great. It laid down the foundations, the sort of beat music, got them a stardom, but they then matured as musicians, as human beings, and the music that we're producing in that era was just fucking sensational. 66 through to 67. Later stuff, pretty damn good as well, but I would argue that was the peak. But Ray was out and reviewing it, and he had some things to say.
I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's a bad review, John.
No, it's certainly Taxman's quite funny, because I actually hear that when I play Taxman. That Batman. So it's actually true. I think George was doing his sort of Jerry Lee Lewis rewrites, but doing it a little bit better than Ringo, so he wasn't getting laughed out the studio. But he'd been watching Batman and was heavily inspired by it, because it's clearly fucking Batman. So it's actually pretty good. A cross between The Who and Batman. That's what he said about Taxman. Eleanor Rigby wasn't a fan of Eleanor Rigby. Sounds like they're out to please music teachers in primary schools. Well, that's something you would never have done, Ray. Let's get real here. Apart from maybe, I mean, what was your excuse for fucking Village Green Preservation Society?
Yeah.
Or Waterloo Sunset? Was that not a fucking bid to please music teachers in primary schools? You weren't exactly being raucous and ripping up the sort of the blueprint of rock and roll music at that point, were you? Let's get real here, Ray, son. I know you're not watching, and I've seen you live, and I do love the guy. I think he's a fuck. I mean, I love singing his songs, because he had just a particular way of letting words rip off his tongue. It was almost like a fucking tongue twister. I think Almanac. Breeze blows leaves of a musty coloured yellow, so I sweep them in the sack. It's all part of my autumn almanac. You need to be really sharp, and I mean fucking German level sharp in the tongue to let that rip off your tongue. So have to stress I enjoy Ray, but he would have been nothing without Dave. Nothing.
John,
Dave's fucking punctured speaker in his amp and that fucking guitar punching you in the gut. That was the Kinks. I know he did the writing. I know he constructed the songs.
Obviously, I know you'll continue on with the rest of these sort of quotes from John, but I don't think it's the worst in terms of the way he's reviewed this. I think he's come in constructively with the things that he does like, and certainly the ones he does. I mean, you don't have to like everything that the Beatles did. But, to be fair, I always regard Rubber Soul and Revolver as the best stuff in terms of entirety. But he's broken it down here. He's broken it down into the ones that he dislikes and the ones he does like. It's quite funny, actually. I was laughing at it earlier, just reading the.
See, to be fair, Stephen, he's absolutely spot on with the old Submarine, because it is. Yeah. It's a load of rubbish. He's absolutely spot on. It's just a bone being thrown to Ringo. It's a load of fucking rubbish. It has no business being on a Beatles album.
I don't even take what he's saying as pretentious. You know, as much as I like David Bowie, there's a pretentious about the dislike of Beatles songs from the likes of Bowie and Lou Reed and Pete Townsend, etc.
Pete Townsend's in no fucking position to talk about the Beatles. Fucking no position.
I don't know, but I don't mind this review. I don't agree with some of the things he says, but you know, it's horses for courses, as George Martin once said.
I'll take criticism from David, because he was a genuine musician and artist and a chameleon and a hugely influential figure, but Pete Townsend was a fucking guitarist. Behave yourself. Behave yourself. I know he wrote songs as well, by the way. I've just never had the Who. I've never had them as a band. I just can't take them serious as a band. I understand, incredible sound, great guitarist, brilliant drummer. I understand it, but I can't listen. I've never listened to a Who album through, and I never will. I've got no interest in them. I find them a deeply uninteresting band.
I'm the same with the Doors.
Yeah, I've never listened to a fucking Doors album either, and I've got no intentions of ever listening to it, Stephen. Now, the Stones I'll listen to, because they're a brilliant blues band. And just what they did with their guitar work, because as someone who loves to play the guitar, and I love Keith, but obviously Mick Taylor and what they were doing just with the guitar parts, very fluid, rhythm into lead, and just really clever. That I can appreciate. The Kinks, I love the Kinks as well. I do. Really different voice in the 60s, and they cut through with some brilliant songs. I love Waterloo Sunset. I play it on the guitar all the time. I love Village Green Preservation.
I think it's important to mention that. We actually went to see Ray in 2012 and loved it.
Yeah, he's fucking great. He's still with his voice. He's a great one. Stephen, I have him probably fourth. Because I combine Lennon and McCartney as one sort of writing entity.
Yeah.
I'd then probably put Bowie in at number 2. I'd maybe put him 5th.
Bowie.
Jagger and Richards 3rd, with Elton John maybe 3rd or 4th. Then I'd put Ray Davies. I think he's the 5th greatest songwriter that ever come out of Britain. He's easy top 5. Easy for me. Produced some brilliant music, so he'd be fair, he's qualified to listen to these songs and take them apart. But I still, in my heart of hearts, think there's a bit of pent-up anger, because John famously says to him before he went out in one of his sort of maiden gigs, and they were supporting the Beatles, John told him to wipe his shoulder or his jacket because there was a bit of dandruff and there was nothing.
I mean, I think that would destroy most people, lying down that, to be fair, but I think, I'm not saying that Ray Davies went out looking for validation or anything like that. He does kind of perk up when they did hear the story about Lennon being at a discotheque and playing Wonder Boy over and over again on the jukebox, like obsessed with it because he loved it.
That was a good song.
And that's a great song, yeah.
Yes, I know you had a moment with it, Stephen. Was that after?
Oh, I did, yeah. It was during my firstborn. Yes. I was sleep deprived and it was an earworm in my head.
I've been there with Ray as well.
The La 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 bit.
It's always that, I had a sunny afternoon. Stuck in my head when I was ill one time, 5 in the morning. And all I kept repeating in my brain was Ray's dulcet, funnily enough, ill tones, because he was unwell as well, singing that. I've got a big fat mama trying to squeeze me. And it just kept repeating, it was the same bit of the song. It's like, I love the song, but for fuck's sake, I don't want to hear that particular part. For the 50th time, I'm trying to fucking sleep here, brain. Can you just calm it down? But Stephen, I digress, he's been on. I take the mickey out myself on the piano and play stuff like this. I think they know it's not that good. Of course they do, that's why they gave you a Ringo. Come on. I think they're giving him the good stuff. And Your Bird Can... This is the controversial one, because And Your Bird Can Sing is a fantastic fucking song. Musically, the guitar work, the singing, everything about it. It's one of the standout songs in the album. So for him to say, don't like this, song's too predictable, it's not a Beatles song at all. That's the whole point, Ray. They're evolving, mate.
I love the outtakes from Anthology for that song.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
But Stephen, it's...
just a laugh.
We speak about the genius of the sort of playing. You'd think it's just the same part getting played, double tracked, but John's playing something slightly different. He's hitting maybe lower registers on the guitar. George is playing something slightly higher. And it's the same way, I'm blanking on it. Jesus Christ, I was just fucking playing it. Why am I blanking on it? Fuck me. Nowhere, man. My God. They're both playing slightly different guitar lines. And it just combines beautifully sonically and gives you a really cool sound. So I'm not having that. Even George is sort of, I think it's George playing the rhythm, or it may be John. It's like single downstrokes. Really, really cool song. I don't agree with Ray there at all. He also did go on and compliment Dr. Robert as good. It's a bit better than good, Ray.
Yeah.
Not my sort of thing. What is your sort of thing, Ray? Paul's vocals get praised. I'm taking this personal. Get praised. I didn't do any work on fucking Revolver. Vocals get...
You've got to put it into context, John. Ray Davies has probably just heard this once.
Yeah.
At this point when he's asked. So
but that makes it more egregious, Stephen, because he's never heard it before, and this is the first time he's hearing Revolver. It's the first time he's hearing it. He's hearing this evolving sound from, for me, the greatest band of all time. He had the pleasure of hearing it fresh. No other music had ever been heard like that. And this is what his critiquing is.
He says that in the quote. He says, this is the first Beatles LP I've really listened to in its entirety.
That's fucking mind-blowing, isn't it? How can you have been alive at that time and they're your peers and you're trying to be the best you can be and they're regarded as the best and you don't listen to their work? To be fair, it's probably for the best they didn't. Because it didn't work out well for your man at the Beach Boys. He listened to their songs through and he went into a dark fucking place. He spiralled.
I think you've got to do your own thing. And I think in terms of inspiration and upbringing, I think Ray Davies and Dave Davies had a totally different outlook in their background in music, John, to Paul McCartney and John Lennon. But put that into context as well. You know, I suppose like anyone, like, you know, I was sort of name dropping Bowie and Lou Reed, but it really just depends on what they were listening to growing up with their parents, etc. You know.
Yeah. And obviously a different environment. He grew up in North London, which is a totally different place to Liverpool back in those days.
Yeah.
Probably not as rich as it is now, but it's always been a very wealthy place, London. Obviously the lifestyle is a little bit different. The fucking weather, everything's different down there. Lucky bastards. But he did have Love for I'm Only Sleeping, which I do enjoy, Stephen. It's one of my favourite songs in the album. I just love Lennon's singing. I love the reverse, the sort of backward guitar playing.
Yeah.
Just the rhythm I like playing it. It's just a half step down, tuned a half step down. Really fucking lovely song. So, and Here, There and Everywhere, I mean, one of the best, Good Day Sunshine, that's a proper sort of Macca song. And the so to be fair, he's balanced. He liked some of the stuff and didn't like other things on it, but I still maintain he's I put it in the description, he's got an enormous revolver-sized chip on his shoulder. I wish I could get that image. It was floating about back in the day of Cilla Black with the big chip on her shoulder. I think it was Cilla Black, because he was very unhappy at that dandruff comment. And I think he just held that as a grudge. And it's like, tough titty. Tough titty, son. That's the breaks, them's the breaks in life. But that's going to round it up. We've been speaking for well over an hour.
Yeah.
And I've got no more to say, really. So I'm going to pass it over to perhaps the people who have got this far into the video. God bless you. Well done. Keith, Mick Jagger style. Fucking chicken dance. I never understood that Maroon 5 song. Moves like Jagger. What moves? Guy couldn't dance to save himself. The fuck are you talking about? He could not dance, and he still can't dance. He just frocks about on the stage. John had some things to say about that, which I shall not repeat because they're not politically correct at all. Not even back then with the acceptable remarks. But what's your thoughts on Paul Mescal? Coming out and admitting that he's been studying Paul for his upcoming role, funnily enough, Paul McCartney. He's learning to play. I presume he's going to follow through in that process. Was that?
Secretly watching you from a distance, Paul?
Watching you from a distance. He's trying to learn the guitar left-handed, just to give that authenticity to the performance. So he's going deep down into the sort of study of Paul, and hopefully that's going to be palpable in the performance. And hopefully the other three guys are going that deep, and it's not just him. Otherwise, we're going to have a real disconnect. Movie to movie. Going to have one guy phoning it in and delivering a half-arsed performance, and then Paul Mescal will be going all method, Jim Carrey and fucking Man in the Moon. And then it's going to go back to Barry Keoghan, who's doing an impersonation of the Joker. But it's Ringo. So hopefully they're all singing from the same hymn sheet. But what's your thoughts? Let's share your thoughts down below. Thoughts on Paul McCartney praising John Lennon's rhythm, guitar work and All My Lovin'. Says it propelled the song, gave it momentum. And obviously was hugely important in their touring over in the States, which then led to them getting further momentum and growing as this fucking entity that was the Beatles. And gave them a lifetime of wealth and influence and the ability to give us more music. Such as Wings, the band the Beatles wished they could have been. Not my words, but the words of Alan Partridge. What is your thoughts on the Kinks' Ray Davies and this interview he gave back in the day, or this critique of Revolver? Was he a bitter man, still hurting over that dandruff remark before one of his first live shows that John gave to him, just as he was about to walk out onto stage? Or is he being an honest musician? Share your thoughts down below about anything at all in the comment section. Like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon to get notifications. Same thing over on Twitch, follow button, notifications button over there to see us live on a different platform. And all that's left to be said is thank you once again for watching us, and bye-bye.